Okay, we have two more arguments to work through. Right. Okay, so did I do something weird? Hold on, I want to make sure I didn't contradict myself or forget something in the argument analysis. Nope, I have not. Okay, so right. That is not a statement, so we're not going to bracket. Let me follow up on that with this. That's a command telling somebody to do something. So we're not going to bracket that as a statement. If you're having trouble recognizing statements and non-statements, you need to go back to the argument module lesson and look at the definition and the examples. I think you did at least one or two activities for a grade where you're supposed to show that you understand what a statement, when something's a statement and when it's not. So that would be a conceptual thing that you need to work on. All right, so if the people who held public events for George Floyd focused on the wrongness of his death without praising him in only a positive light, then I think the events held would actually have been the right thing to do. Whoa, that's a very long statement, but it's very easy to follow because it's clearly written. Notice that it's a what? What kind of statement did I say this was? A conditional statement, a hypothetical. Hence, did you remember not to chop it in half? If you put a bracket here, you chopped it in half and you created a sentence fragment where there was none to begin with, and you've destroyed the hypothetical reasoning that the speakers engaged with. So you definitely don't want to do that. Everyone knows, however, that here it should say everyone knows, however, that it's really two, I guess you could say. No, that's fine. That is not, yeah, I do want to have two that's. That is not the way he was presented. So we can do the bracket here. Later on, I'm going to talk to you about why I might have just put the bracket over around the second that. But we'll go ahead and put it here. So we've got statement 1 here, a really long conditional. Statement 2 here. As such, they should not have held those events. All right. So that's statement 3. The only indicator word I have is as such, and that typically tells me a conclusion is coming. You should have labeled these as premises. You shouldn't have labeled or bracketed or numbered that at all. So notice we're employing what the soft talk module told us to do. We looked for indicator, we isolated statements, we looked for indicator words, we found the conclusion, we made some judgments, and thought through this again to figure out if something was a premise, and voila, we end up here. The pattern is there's at least one premise followed by conclusion. Should not have two P's. I've already lectured on that. Let's go ahead and look at the form. The argument diagram, not the form. This is the pattern. The diagram is S1, a premise, works together with S2, another premise. Make sure you leave all the space down here for later. S3, a conclusion. Awesome. All right. We're finally getting to our last argument. So man, okay, that's not a statement. If people were, we've got a conditional. Whenever you see the word if, remember, what did the note say? If is not a premise indicator, and we're coming across what kind of a statement? A conditional. What else do we want to remember? Not to chop it in half. Why? We don't want to destroy the speaker's hypothetical reasoning, and we don't want to create sentence fragments where there are none. So, statement 1. If people were able to think and talk rationally about controversial topics like we just did, the United States would be a nation of civilized people. Ooh, look, another conditional. If America was this kind of nation, then this would definitely be a contribution to making American society better. Notice that the then is applied in the first conditional, but the then is explicit in the second conditional. What I'm trying to say is, what I'm getting at is captured by the following. That should be a little I. If people were able to think and talk rationally about subjects like we have, then America would be better off for it. Statement 3, yet another conditional. So what do you notice? An entire argument may consist of only conditionals. You might want to write that down. In fact, do write it down. An entire argument can consist of conditionals, or that means statements, only. All premises, all indenting premises, and even including the conclusion. This entire argument is a set of conditionals. Notice how there's only 3 statements. If you keep chopping the conditionals in half, you're claiming that there's 6 statements. But then even if you did that, what you actually have are 3 statements and 3 sentence fragments. Okay, so the pattern is, well, let's find out. What are the indicators in here? What I'm trying to say is, often when you hear that, somebody's telling you what their main point is. And when they're telling you what their main point is, a lot of the time, though not necessarily all of the time, they're saying, here comes a conclusion. What I'm getting at, that's also telling us that maybe a conclusion is coming, but what word do you see again? The following is captured by the following. It's the same thing as is as follows, or what follows. So it's captured by the following. So now I have these 2 suggesting a conclusion might be coming, but this really drives home the point for me that this is also a conclusion. These 2 things, then, we realize are premises. So the pattern is a premise is followed by a conclusion. The diagram is S1, a premise, works together with S2, another premise, to support S3, a conclusion.